Yep. Remember this over a year ago when a police officer shot a black young man for sleeping in a car? Yeah. Cop walks free after fatally shooting black teen sleeping in car. No charges for a cop who fatally shot teen sleeping in a car.
A young black male fatally shot a teen sleeping. Fatally shot. Who will be responsible for it? Well, not the cop. Let's go to the video. Here it is.
At least 4 D.C. police officers approached the car early Saturday morning, March 18th. A young man appeared to be sleeping inside. Police say the car was stolen and they called for backup, with 2 U.S. Park police officers responding.
He takes golf, just let him go. But don't get inside that car.
What do they do? They get inside.
Those 2 officers opened the rear doors and 1 got in.
Police,
The driver, 17-year-old Delano Martin, drove off. 1 officer falling to the ground, the other still in the back seat.
Stop or shoot!
Martin's family says that he was shot in the back 5 times. He slumped over the wheel, the car crashing into a house. Police say a gun was found in the vehicle. Delano Martin leaves behind an infant son. His mother, Tara Martin, shared her grief.
He's my child. He's my son. And until you be where I'm at today, you would never understand.
Put up the screenshot, full mass.
Here it is.
He was 17 years of age. He was a child. He was immature. I have been there. Many of you
We all have.
can say the same.
I've been there too when I was a teenager.
He does
Immature,
not get
stupid
to
shit.
face a jury. He does not get an opportunity at probation. He will not have his constitutional rights respected. He is dead. Because the police decided to ignore not only stated written protocol, but command at the scene. U.S. Park police officer will not face any charges for fatally shooting a 17-year-old child in the back when he was sleeping in his car last year, when he was startled by officers entering the vehicle before one of them unloaded 6 shots into his back. Following a review of the March 18, 2023 shooting death of Delano Martin in Washington, D.C., the U.S. Attorney's Office for the District of Columbia announced there was insufficient evidence to pursue charges against the U.S. Park police officer involved. There's more. On the night of the shooting, officers responded to a report of a suspicious vehicle. Upon arrival, they discovered Martin was asleep in the driver's seat of the car they suspected was stolen earlier that month. The engine was running, and the ignition had been damaged, according to authorities. From there, a Park police officer quietly entered the back seat while others attempted to subdue Martin in the front. After a brief struggle, Martin drove off with the officer still in the back. The officer pulled his gun, then yelled for Martin to stop before firing several shots. They killed the driver and sent the vehicle careening into a house. Martin was later pronounced dead at the scene, and autopsy later found he'd been shot a total of 6 times. During a news conference earlier this year, Martin's mother, Tara Martin, called for murder charges to be filed against the officers involved, who have never been publicly identified. Quote, "I don't eat, I don't sleep, and justice needs to be served," she said. According to USA Today, this decision is deeply troubling and sends a disturbing message to our community that it is okay for officers to use deadly force against children in the community.
Well, not that. I mean, it seems like police officers don't give it. They don't give 2 shits if if it's an underage teenager, if it's an elderly senior person, or a veteran. They'll go hands on, or even to the point use deadly force, because officers going to preach about officer safety. I was feared for my life. That's what their go-to saying is.
Martin family's attorney, Andrew Clark, said in a statement, quote, "Delano never posed a threat to the officer's safety or to others in the vicinity. Yet, Seconds later, he paid the ultimate price in an encounter that never should have ended in the use of lethal force. Additional Metropolitan Police officers, along with 2 U.S. Park police officers, arrived at the scene to help detain Martin. Body camera footage captured the group discussing how to safely remove Martin from the vehicle. According to the footage, the officers surrounded the car, both sides, entered the vehicle in an attempt to restrain Martin. During the struggle, one officer did in fact fall to the ground on the driver's side as Martin accelerated, with a parked police officer still in the back seat. Quote, "Stop, man, just let me out. Let me go," the officer yells while Martin keeps driving. "Stop, stop, or I'll shoot." Seconds later, the officer shot Martin in the back several times while the car veered off the road. Bullets struck Martin in his upper back near his neck. The police performed CPR on Martin, but he never regained consciousness. Last year, the Park Police Union defended the actions of the officer who opened fire. Union Chairman Kenneth Spencer said that the shooting of Martin was justified. Shortly after the shooting, the U.S. Attorney's Office in the District of Columbia launched a civil rights investigation, April 2023. November 7th, the office issued a statement concluding there was insufficient evidence to pursue.
Yeah, you know what's going to back them up to be justified? Qualified immunity.
Civil rights or criminal charges in the District of Columbia. Quote, "After a careful and thorough and independent review of the evidence, federal prosecutors have found sufficient evidence to prove beyond a reasonable doubt that the United States Park officer is criminally liable for Mr. Martin's death. The U.S. Attorney's Office remains committed to investigating allegations of excessive force by law enforcement officers and will continue to devote the resources necessary to ensure that all allegations of serious civil rights violations are investigated fully and completely."
Of course, the thin blue line lovers and the bootlickers are going to sit there saying, "Oh, it's justifiable." Well, they're saying, "Well, he should have complied," or "This is what happens to him." Yeah, but the thing is, nobody deserves to be unalive, shot at, or scrutinized over stolen property. I think it's crazy. Like, you think in the right mind, stolen property, like a car that's probably worth $30,000, you think it's worth more than a young man's life? Okay, he stole the car. Yeah, well, all right, arrest him. Let him face the judge. That's the thing. We have due process. That's why people are innocent until proven guilty. But you got cops who want to play judge, jury, executioner in one fell swoop. It's like they don't value human life.
Let's discuss context.
Just like Kevin Daves. He didn't value Janavi Kundula. Danny Otter was so stupid when saying, "Oh, she had limited value. Just want to check her family with $11,000. You got cops that have the attitude like there were so much more. Like our lives, the value of our lives and resistance don't mean shit to their eyes.
The prosecution is arguing we don't have sufficient evidence to prove these crimes beyond a reasonable doubt. Now, they contextualize these words in a very specific way to never say they believe what the cop did was justified. They never said that. They said we don't have the sufficient evidence for these crimes in which we're investigating because the standard for the federal government is statutorily different under the civil rights allegation when there's a criminal element to the crime. Let's zoom out for a second. He's 17 years old. The officer decided to ignore command and ignore protocol. Why? Because he was scared. He was likely scared. In a situation like that,
you know why? He was scared because knowing a police officer entered the back seat of the car, that young man woke up scared out of his mind. First thing he kicked in was fight or flight instinct. And 99% of the time, when you deal with a police officer, when people get scared, what's going to kick in? Flight instinct. You want to make a beeline run far, run fast, and just run. Get away from the scenario of trouble, that knowing that they could put 6 bullets in you, like that cop did with that young man.
If you're afraid, number one, you definitely don't violate protocol by jumping in the car. That's the entire reason.
Yeah.
You're not supposed to get in there. It's because of safety protocol, liability reasons, etc. Number two, you don't know if this is a juvenile or not.
Yeah.
You have not bothered to engage the individual directly.
No, that, I mean, you don't ignore protocols. I mean, you're acting like this car is worth more than this young man. It's ridiculous. Okay, the car's stolen. All right. Well, there's a right way to go about it, and that way they went about it was not the right way to do about it.
And number three, how many times have we been here before where a person who's homeless, sleeping inside of a vehicle,
Yeah.
they all of a sudden get startled by someone trying to break a window rather than just attempting to talk with them?
Yeah.
Remember, everyone is innocent until
Proven guilty.
guilty. There was no reason for this kind of interaction to take place. And don't get caught up in the wordology of it, where you will hear the phrase justified or insufficient evidence and think somehow it means right. You know, there was a time in this country where if you sat on the wrong side of the bus, if you wanted to sit in the front, but they told you you had to sit in the back, that it was then thus justified for law enforcement to arrest you. It was justified for law enforcement to beat you. There was no penalty. So what measuring?
Well, back in the old days, it was segregated. Like if, like say, if a black man wanted to use the bathroom, use the white man's bathroom like that, or drink the water fountain like that. Yeah, back in the day, it was justified for cops to do that. But this ain't 1950s and 60s. This is not Martin Luther King days, Susie Homemaker, and Joan Cleaver day. This is 2024, ladies and gentlemen.
Stick are we using when we talk about justification or sufficiency? Because if you're utilizing theirs, you have to understand that their measure has been off routinely. All right, Sharon, thoughts here.
I do believe context is everything, Doc. And did you know that even a male black child, when sleeping, is apparently dangerous enough that they require deadly force? We can't even bother to question them. Right. Did you also know that in some jurisdictions that if you are in a vehicle and you crash into a home, you can be charged with breaking and entering, intended or not? I think this officer should be charged with that. I think this officer should be charged with murder, reckless driving, endangering the public, assault with a deadly weapon. This is certifiably crazy. And by the way, this is the dumbest cop. We'll get to the crimes, but this is the dumbest. He's a danger just to be out there with society and should be locked up for that reason alone.
Yeah, I agree 100%. I mean, violate protocol, violate command, get in, seconds later, shoot the individual in the back, creating, as you have alluded to, a worse situation potentially for everybody else around them, crashing into a house. The kid didn't do that. The kid's dead. The cop did that. Mm-hmm. All right, we'll bring you updates if any update comes.
Yeah. Yeah, and those stupid cops want to blame the kid. Like, no, you did it. You shot that light all of a sudden. He passed out behind the wheel, and the wheel probably says turning, the wheel started turning. Well, guess what? And I bet you 10 to 1, those cops probably even ponying up a dime to repair the house. I bet you the homeowners had to do that out of their own pocket. Absolutely hypocrisy. Then, like I said, the cops got the attitude like, well, it happens. Well, it is what it is. Yeah, bull crap. It's another case. Happy fuck the cops day. Yep, that's it. I'm out of here. My job. Peace out.